Okay, so this is 5.1. We're going to be writing linear equations from situations and graphs. So that's your standard 8.3 functions, standard number 4. So your objective is to be able to write an equation to model a linear relationship given a graph or a description with at least an 80% accuracy given independent practice. So the first thing that we have to do is remember our slope-intercept form equation, which is y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope, basically your y over your run, or the change of y over the change of x, and then your b is your initial value, which is also known as your y-intercept. Okay, to find your slope, you have to use this formula. So y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. This is usually when you're given order pairs. You can use this method when you're given a graph, but you can use both for any situation in this case. So let me go ahead and go over the steps, and I'll give you a few examples to do. So the first step is to find your slope. So remember, your slope is the change of y over the change of x, so you can use that formula there. Or you can just think about constant rate of change, so like every month, every child, everything that, like an extra item that you buy that has the same rate of change. And then the second thing you're going to do is find your b. So b is in a situation is basically your initial value, or also known as where the line crosses the y-axis. And in this case, you have to substitute in x for 0, because when x equals 0, that's when you find the value of b, because on the x axis it's not moving either to right or to left, it just stays there. It's going to move up or down. On the y-axis, that's going to be where it's going to intercept the y-axis. And then lastly, you're going to write your equation in this form, so y equals mx plus b. So once you have your m, just plug in your m there, and when you have your b, you plug in your b there. Okay, let me go ahead and give you this example. So it says, in our studio charges $50 per family registration plus $20 per child. So in this case, I already know that my initial value is 50, so that's my b. And then I know that for every child that I register for that family, it's going to be $20. So that's your rate of change, that's your constant rate of change, constant proportionality in this case. So that's your constant rate of change, right? $20. So that's your slope. So I'm going to be doing this. So that's 20. And so when I write it, I'm going to go y equals, what's my m? 20. So the total payment that the family is going to do is $20 per child, and then plus the $50. So this is your initial fee, $50, and then $20 for every child that they register. Okay, so in this case, this is your equation for that example. Let me give you one to do on your own. Okay, so go ahead and write an equation for this situation. A gym has a $75 membership fee and a $23 monthly fee. So go ahead and think about this. What's the initial value? If you want to be a member of that gym, how much you have to pay up front, right? And then for your constant, how much you're going to pay every month. So go ahead and write in this form. Okay, let me give you another example with the... Okay, so this is the graph. So this is the number of children, that's the total cost, and this is what I'm given. So 0 is 50, 1 child $70, 2 children $90, 3 children $110, and then 5 children $120. How do I know this is children, this is cost? Because my x, remember when you have an order pair, so your x is your first number, so this is number of children. It tells you right there, children, and then that y, right, is my total cost, my y-axis. So that's the total cost, 50, 70, 90, 110, 150. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is find my slope. So how do I do that? You're going to take 2 points, any 2 points that you like. I'm going to take the first and the last. So I'm going to take 0, 50, and I'm going to take 5, 150. Now, you can label them. I personally don't label them, but I'm just going to do it for your sake. So I can do this x, y, x1, y1, and then x2, y2. Remember, you can, if you want to choose this as your 2, you may, but make sure that you have your x. This is your x value, that's your y value. Do not change that, and then just make sure that the numbers match in the same order pair. Do not go like x1, y2. That's wrong. Okay, so they have to be matching. And so I'm gonna take my y2, which is 150, and I'm gonna subtract 50 from that. And I'm gonna do x2, which is 5, and then I'm gonna subtract 0, which is my x1. So then I go 150 minus 50, that's 100, and then 5 minus 0 is 5. 100 divided by 5, that's 20. That's my m, okay? So my slope is 20 in this case, okay? Now what's my starting point? When x equals to 0, that's my b, okay? So in this case, it's 50. So how do I write an equation? I go y equals 20x plus 50, okay? That will be the same situation that I shared with you in the first example, but this is a graph instead of just a written situation that you're given. Now let me show you how you get the same answer if you decide to label this as your 2 and this as your 1. So my x2 is 50. So my y2 is 50. My y1 is 150. My x2 is 0. And then my x1 is 5. Make sure that you keep them like that. If you change them, you're gonna get it wrong. If you switch your y on the bottom and the x on the top, it's also wrong because remember, slope is rise over run. It's not run over rise. Okay. So I go 50 minus 150. That's actually negative 100. And then 0 minus 5. That's also negative 5. And if we remember our magic Dorito, and negative divided by negative gives us a positive. So that's 20. So see, I get the same answer. That's my m. Okay. Let me go ahead and give you, let's do this one together and then I'll give you one to do. Okay, so in this case, this one's a little more challenging. It says that I paid $22 in total in the fair. I got on 6 rides, charging $3 each for every ride that I got on. And then what was the entrance cost? So the question is, what's my initial value? How much did I pay to just go in? Okay, so we need to find my m before I do anything. So in this case, what I can do is I can say, okay, y is going to be the total cost, right? And then m is how much I'm paying per ride. And b is basically my entrance price. Now I'm going to change the letters just for the sake of understanding a little bit better. So I'm going to say this is my cost equals however much I pay for every ride, right? Which is $3. That's given to me. That's my rate of change. So $3 for every ride that I got on, plus my entrance. I do not know how much my entrance is, okay? But I do know that the total cost was 22, so I can actually erase that and then just keep it like that, okay? So then I'm gonna do, and then I also know that I got on 6 rides. So then I know the number, so I know that I got on 6 rides there. So then I can do an inverse operation. So 3 times 6 is 18. So I have 22 equals 18 plus my entrance. And I'm going to take this on the other side to get rid of that, to leave e on its own. Okay, so I want to isolate my e, so therefore I do inverse operation, which is subtraction in this case. So 8 minus 18, when I do to one side of the equation, I do to the other side of the equation. Hopefully remember this from 6th and 7th grade. That cancels out because the opposites, additive inverse is equal to 0. So 22 minus 18, that is $4, and that's equal my entrance. So my entrance was $4. Now, how do I write an equation? Okay, I can say, I can use my C if I want to do so. I can say cost equals 3 times ride plus entrance. Or I can actually write it like this, y equals 3x plus my entrance was actually $4. So I can just keep it like this. Okay, so this is your slope intercept form, but if they're asked in terms of costs and right, then you can write it like that. Okay, let me give you one to do really quick. Okay, go ahead and write an equation for this one in terms of y equals mx plus b, or if you'd rather do cost equals, you know, your rate for a number of rides as entrance, that's also okay. So either or works for me. So make sure that you figure out how much you're paying for entrance by plugging in whatever you know from that equation and then solving by doing an inverse operation. Okay? God bless. Remember, mathematical, but you are amazingly brilliant. Adios.